What's going on, guys? It is finally time for me to paint this car. Now, I've had this car for over a year, and I have posted a couple videos on this. If you guys have watched those videos, you may have noticed that that hood right there was black. Not only that it was black, it was actually a carbon fiber hood. And one day this thing actually flew open on me because it was so warped and destroyed. Luckily, it didn't break the windshield, but it did bend the hood hinges. So I ended up going to a local person who was partying out their MR2, got some hood hinges, and got a hood. Now, this hood was also black, and I painted it. But after painting it, I was like, damn, I need to paint the rest of this car. So that's what this video is for. Now, I've already taken some parts off of this car. They're sitting over there in the carport. So I'll be taking more parts off. But before I do that, I'm actually going to start by giving this car a good wash and using a Scotch-Brite to really get into all the dirt that has been embedded in this paint for many years. Because when I bought this car sat in a yard for a very, very long time. So it definitely had some dirt, dust, everything baked onto it. So already there's a huge difference from just washing it. I mean, using the Scotch-Brite on the very baked on dirt from many years got a lot of it out. So for the spoiler, I haven't got to it yet because of this. Look at these screw heads. That's not even a screw head anymore. Look at that one. And that one's the worst one. This side, I got one of them off. This one doesn't look too bad, but still tough to get out. And that one just looks like mush. So I have this old freeze off that I had sitting in the garage, sprayed some of that and let it sit for like a day. So that way it could break free. So I guess the next thing I'm gonna do is start disassembling the car the rest of the way, taking the bumpers off, taillights, that trim piece right there, any other trim pieces, fenders, front bumper, and so on. So I finally got the body disassembled. As you can see, the doors are off, the seals are off, and everything, all the trim is off of the body, at least in order for me to paint it. Also went ahead and took the time to clean off all the sealer, and this was probably the hardest part, taking off the old sealer. I just got some paint thinner with a Scotch-Brite and kind of sanded down the sealer. Here, got this area all cleaned up with a Scotch-Brite. So as you can see, it's kind of rusty right here. This needs more attention. But other than that, the car is ready to at least be sanded and worked on. The worst part about getting one of these old cars and trying to do a restoration is that sometimes these are painted and not a good paint job, like rattle can job. As you can see, you can almost see the line where the seal was, and it is obvious that it was painted from here on out. And you know, they didn't take the time to take it apart and stuff like that. And I bet it was rattle can because of the amount of cracks and just the quality of the job is just awful. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna get myself a sander with some 320 grit and start going through everything. So while I was sanding, I decided to go with a lower grit. I went down to a 180 grit to really get some of that old paint off. And it revealed some low spots, especially on the roof. So we have a few right here, these three. And then we have one over there. We have a high spot here. I guess someone put their hand here or something and kind of caused a crease there. And then we have a couple low spots there. And we have a pretty deep low spot right there. So all those low spots that I see, I'm gonna go ahead and knock them down to bare metal. Try to do my best as far as the body work. I'm not really good at body work, but I am gonna try to kind of raise those dents up a little bit. And then I'll fill those in and we'll primer it. Okay, so I got that side down bare metal, this side down bare metal. Now I'm gonna be taking this out. So they always have a texture on the bottom. When I painted my Miata, I had the same exact thing. And of course, whoever owned it before painted this whole thing white. It's still there. You can see all the runs they left there. So I'm gonna get all this down the bare metal now. So fast forward to now, as you can see, a lot of work was done and it is dark. This took several hours to get all the door jambs and all the nitty gritty stuff. And as you can see, we did the body work, got some bond over here, right there. And I know it looks like a lot. Trust me, we did the body work so that way it's as flat as it can be. Also down here, went ahead and knocked this down the bare metal. We got some dents that we filled in. And now it is ready for some paint. So I'm not gonna paint this today. I'm gonna paint it tomorrow because it's dark, obviously. So be right back. And I'm back. And as you can see, it's starting to get dark again. Sucks because this is really the only time I have to do anything on the weekday. But at least in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and shoot these bare metal spots. After that, on a different day, I'm going to go ahead and block it and then paint the rest of the car. All right, so I went ahead and got a good coat on this car. Now all that's left to do is to block it and then paint it. So I'll be right back again. And it is the next day. So now it's time to block this car, finish it off with some 400 grit, and then it should be ready for some paint. And of course, right when I'm about to paint, it started raining. And there's lightning, thunder, everything. So we'll see how long this takes. Quick insert on this video because I forgot to mention this, but this is the paint I'm going to be using. This is single stage paint. So this is the same paint that I used on my Miata at the time that I had it. And it worked very well for me. And this paint is very forgiving because if you try to do like a base and clear, you have to worry about getting some particles, dust or whatever on your base coat, and then on your clear, it just makes it very hard for a do-it-yourselfer to do this in your garage, or for me doing it in an inflatable spray booth. So at least with this, I'll be able to make the necessary corrections if I get any dust nips or any bugs, whatever happens to get on the paint. I could at least sand it down and buff it. Not sponsored. Oh, and by the way, this is Toyota Super White. All right, guys, it's the next day after that, and it is, of course, nighttime, and that's because it's a weekday. I work during the day. This is the only time I get. Anyways, sorry I couldn't get much footage of all the things I've done. As you can see, we're in our inflatable spray booth, and we're gonna go ahead and start laying on some sealer and then some paint. And of course, before we do all that, got a tack cloth. All right, so the coat of sealer is on the car and it has dried. It had about like 30 minutes to dry, and this is looking pretty good so far. So it's all fully dried, no shiny spots, not bad. So I'm gonna go around this whole car, look for any dust, dirt nips, and get some 1000 grit sandpaper, kind of knock it down a little bit, then I'll move on to paint. right, guys, first coat is on. Time for the second one. All right, guys, it's been a few days. I got some of these parts back on the car. As you can see, the engine lid is on. One of these side panels is on. The other side's missing because I still need to do body work on it. And the body is painted. And I made a very, very bad mistake. So I got a run here. Me trying to be quick with things. I got a mini DA with some 800 grit and try to sand down the run. And I ended up burning through. Luckily, this is single stage, so some of you are going to be like cringing with me saying this, but I'm going to try to sand this general area and kind of use my spray gun and have some settings in a way where it kind of like spot paints. Will it work? I don't know. Will it make things worse? Probably, but we'll see when we get there. That should be it for this video. I am going to make this a two-part series because obviously there's a lot of work. The bumper. This is gonna probably be the hardest thing to get right, because as you guys can see, it is super pitted, super rotted away from the sun. It is in very poor condition, and you can't really just throw Bondo on this or any filler because obviously it's gonna break off. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The trunk lid is here, the door is here. I do need to fix some dents, yada yada yada, but that should be it. So if there's anything you guys want to see in the next video, please drop it down in the comments below. And if you guys have any advice to give me on anything on this car, especially on fixing that bumper, because that's going to be a huge challenge for me, please also let me know. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.